This one is called Ledges. Grandmaster Godson, also known in the real world as Doug, dips his gloved finger into a gold chalice and stirs it slowly. Make sure you have 1½ loaves of wheat bread sealed inside a large Ziploc bag, he says loudly, rotating in the center of the room, peering out, the shroud covering most of his head. Over a mess of rummaging, Grandmaster Godson says, "You need a half for the goat at the elevator, then a whole loaf for the bull at the gates." He pulls his finger out of the chalice and flicks a line of green drops at a dozen people crouched down in front of him. If you don't have the bread, wheat bread, then you'll be going to hell. A middle-aged woman wearing only a white tunic gasps as she digs through a backpack at the feet of a young boy. Grandmaster Godson carefully places the chalice on the stained concrete floor and slides a curled poster out of the top of his purple robe. He unravels it to show a 27 by 40-inch close-up shot of a sidewalk overflowing with pedestrians in business suits. The pedestrians even spill out into the street, clogging traffic. In this sea of black and white, Godson is there in an orange robe, holding up a poster board sign with big orange letters stating, "Rapture is almost here. Join us or die." Like a construction cone, the suits make disgusted faces as they swerve out of his way at the last second to avoid collision. In the intimate room, Godson twirls in place, holding that poster out in front of him with two stiff arms, and confidently says, "This is what the world looks like. Busy ants without a mind to call their own, without thought, without question. They just follow a corporate ladder in the hope of achieving things, stupid things. Like expensive cars," a lady shouts out, and her high-pitched voice is magnified in the enclosed room. "And big TVs," someone else shouts. "And houses filled with a dozen bedrooms and 24 baths. Drugs and hookers." Godson releases his grip on the poster, allowing it to spring back into the tube and fall to the ground, where he stomps it flat with his black boot. "They laughed at us," he says, "tried to spear us with big, flashy, clever words. But at 9 o'clock tonight, when the Yellowstone supervolcano explodes with the force of 50 nuclear bombs, most of these ants will perish immediately. The few in the United States who survive, along with the rest of the world, will see ash spread across the skies and block out the sun. They'll live their remaining days inside a gray snow globe, fighting each other for survival. And what will they be fighting for? Nothing. Once the rapture takes place, and God steps foot onto the earth, he will merely be directing every lost soul to hell." The circular wall of 30-some Greek-looking followers pump their fists into the air. They smile so big, like an oilmonger passing a gas station that just raised the price of unleaded 50 cents in the last hour. They shout, "Yeah, and that's right, and amen." After a minute of this, Godson slices a hand through the air and stabs a finger at a cluster of people. One woman with the bald head bobs the finger at her flat chest. "Not you," Godson says. When she steps out of the way, a 340-pound guy feeding himself fistful after fistful of Doritos takes a cheese-covered thumb and bobs it at his pillow-sized boobs. "No, and you're getting crumbs everywhere." When the blob crunches out of the way, a single man is left standing with a silver orb resting in between his relaxed hands. The man nods, and Godson says, "Yes, come forth, Brother Chris." As Brother Chris walks the concrete catwalk forward, heads appear from nowhere, getting so close to the orb that they can check their teeth for stuck food. Some of the heads sigh and shake from side to side, and one even spits. Some others have eyes that go wide, some ooh and awe, and one even takes the cloth of the robe and tries to shine the spit-covered area. "Dumbass," Godson says, reaching his hands out, accepting the orb. He holds it up closer to the light, giving it the appearance of a disco ball. "This is not a clam's pearl. This is not some kind of diamond. This is the reason we're here. This is the reason the rapture is coming." The spit shriner mumbles, "Oh, sorry," from behind an uneven fence of people. "Guys, this is what corporate America calls the memory eater, or as the righteous call it, the devil's dildo." Half of the room goes, "Ooh." "Come on, this is in my book, for Christ's sake. Chapter 6. You all bought it on Amazon, right? Did the required readings the last several weeks? Yes?" Every head nods. The ones that didn't do the readings nod a dozen times more. "Moving on," Godson says. "It just so happens that Brother Chris here worked as a memory eater technician before discovering the viral error in his way." He takes a hand and clamps it down on Chris's shoulder. As he massages the tense muscles, Chris looks around with a half grin poking out of his thick beard. So he came to me and placed the devil's dildo in my hand. Godson directs his gaze to the floor right by his feet and says in his best Christian Bale Batman voice, "You thought you'd get this thing in my ass?" He rattles the orb around like it's a maraca and he's in a death metal tribal band. "You made the memory eater portable so everyone could use it like a condom. We know you made condoms too, so humans would stop procreating and die." He looks up at his audience and shouts, "All hail the Duggars." The entire room shouts back, "Hail the Duggars." Godson tosses the orb back to Chris and proceeds to unzip and then pull a small glass jar out of his fanny pack. After unscrewing and removing the metal lid, he places a thumb and index finger around the single hooped earring sunk into the skin of his left eyebrow and says, "For those who haven't read Chapter 9, first, shame on you. Second, do exactly what I'm doing." There is a mess of unzipping that disturbs the room before half of the people who weren't already grasping at their eyebrow rings immediately do so. "Now hold the jar like this," Godson says, placing his jar right on his left cheek, right below his eye, "and then do this." He tears the hoop through his eyebrow, leaving behind 2 hanging strands of skin, which act as needles dripping blood into the jar. Squinting head after squinting head follow suit, until only the young boy is left standing, shaking his head, stomping a foot, at which point his mother yanks the earring off of his face like a band-aid on a hairy arm. The kid yells, "Ouch!" Godson can't help but burp out several laughs as he says, "Awesome." For those of you who slacked off and didn't read about this item, it's called a sacrifice in a jar. We give it to the DNA inspector in heaven so he can verify who we are. Godson screws the lid back onto his jar and tucks it neatly into his fanny pack. "Now where's Chris?" "Over here," he shouts, stepping in from another room, holding a large serving tray lined with 30-some plastic cups filled to the brim with bright green juice. "Excellent," Godson slaps his hands and rubs them together like he's creating fire. "Say, why haven't you plucked your eyebrow ring yet?" As Chris shoves one drink after another into each person's hand, spilling part of the juice onto the blood and burrito-covered concrete floor, he says, "Was busy making drinks. Don't worry, I'll do it when I'm done." "Good, because you'll be sent to hell if you don't have a sacrifice in a jar." "Yeah, I got it," Chris says, stepping into the middle of the room, picking up the chalice and ramming it right into Godson's chest. "You're getting the heaven juice everywhere, man," Godson says, holding the chalice away from his body with one hand as the other squeegees his robe. "Sorry," comes Chris' faded voice as he disappears into the other room. "Some people, huh?" Godson says, to which the 340-pound guy wipes his mouth off with the back of his hand, hiccups, and then says, "Yeah." Godson stabs a wet finger at the man and yells, "Fool! We're all supposed to drink the juice at the same time." Sorry again?" "Hurry!" Godson tips the chalice's bottom toward the light, allowing the liquid to rush down his throat. "Everyone drink, drink, drink!" Everyone drinks. Then comes the sound of tings on the floor from discarded cups.